If you run a services business and the only way you can grow is by hiring more people, or if your team is buried in repetitive tasks and you're permanently at capacity, or if you've tried AI but only got a 10% improvement instead of the transformation everyone keeps on promising, then this video is for you. I'm going to show you the exact AI agents we built inside the marketing agency I own to cut a recurring task from 2 full days down to 1 hour, go from only being able to handle 3 clients per rep to 10 clients per rep, and scale our outbound sales while saving over 100 hours every month, all without sacrificing quality. In fact, the quality got better. I'm Karim, I run Headroom Consulting, where we build AI systems for people-heavy professional services firms. I also own a marketing agency, and everything you're about to see in this video is what we implemented there. First, I'll show you the framework we use to pick what to automate. Then I'll open up the systems and show you how the work used to be done before, how we automated the agents to do the work for us, and how the agents are actually running the work now. And then at the end, I'll show you how we rolled it out so the whole team actually used it. First, let's start with some context. The marketing agency I run scales brands on Amazon. Before AI, my team was drowning in repetitive and manual work, and as a result, we were always capped at 3 clients per rep and we were capacity constrained. Agencies, if you know anything about them, they are notoriously hard to scale because you're scaling people. If you want more clients, we need to hire more people. And that's always been the part that frustrated me the most because I always felt constrained personally. And so we were using AI here and there, some ChatGPT, some Claude, to make our life easier, but it never really made people significantly more productive. It was just a 10% improvement at best. But then AI kept on improving, and in January this year, I started integrating it in every major function in my business. I used to be a software engineer, so I put those skills to the test again. So how did we decide what to automate? The first thing we needed to do is to decide what to automate with AI. And this is the part that almost every company messes up. And at the end, they either end up with AI agents that don't work and always need babysitting, or they end up automating something that didn't need to be automated in the first place. I'll show you how to prevent this once and for all. We first started by listing all the tasks that we do. So if you see here, we have the list of tasks. So for example, there's advertising, Amazon PPC, and there's the subtasks of every task. Now, there's a lot more in reality, but just for the sake of this video, I kept it as simple as possible. We have listing creation and optimization, admin work for clients, SEO discoverability. By the way, these are all tasks that we do for clients. And these are all tasks that we do internally under this. So business development and client acquisition, client onboarding, client retention, etc. After listing all the tasks, we need to score them on a framework that I came up with. I called it TIFDA, T-I-F-D-A, T for time, I for impact and dollar value, F for frequency, D for documented workflows, and A for available data. So for T, I, and F, we need to score each on a score of 1 to 5. If something only takes, let's say, a couple minutes, then it's a 1. If it takes hours or days, then it's a 5. For impact, if it has minimal impact on revenue, it's probably a 1. If it has a lot of impact, it's a 5. For frequency, if we do it only once a month, it's probably a 3. Once a year, it's a 1. Once a day, it's a 5. Documented workflow and available data, we scored those separately. Why? Because if one of them is missing, it negates the whole task from being automated. And that's another common mistake that companies do. So if we don't have a documented workflow, we cannot teach the AI how to actually do the task. The way you want to think about it is, imagine you are hiring a new person. Do you tell them, just go figure it out, or do you show them how it's being done? Even if you don't have a documented workflow, you're going to ask someone that usually does this task to show them how it's being done. So same thing here with AI. You cannot just ask it to figure it out. It's going to just use its knowledge that it has acquired from data that it collected from everywhere on the internet. Instead, you want to show it exactly how the task is being done. Same thing for available data. You want to show it previous examples of those tasks. That's actually how they teach AI to detect cancer. They show it millions and millions of scans that are labeled either cancerous cell or non-cancerous cell. That's how it learns to detect cancer on its own and eventually become better than doctors at detecting cancer. So let's show you how it works in practice. So for example, PPC, this is the most important service that we offer for clients. It takes a lot of time. It takes around 3 hours a day per client. It has very high impact on our revenue because it's the most major service that we offer. And we do it daily, so it's a 5. So it's 5 and then for everything, and then it's 15. We also have a documented workflow for it and available data. So it's 1 times 1 equals 1. Listing creation and optimization, very close to PPC. So it's, again, it takes a lot of time. It takes 2 days, not more. Impact is also very high. Frequency, we do it daily. Now, we don't do it daily for every client, but we do it daily across all clients, which also earns a score of 15. We also have documented workflows and available data. By the way, for TINF, you don't have to be extremely precise. As long as you're almost correct, it's fine. You're just using it to kind of prioritize what tasks to automate first. Admin work for clients, it doesn't take too much time, like dozens of minutes, 10, 20 minutes a day. Impact very low. Even if we don't offer that service, it's not going to impact our revenue much. Frequency, we do it daily, so it's a 5, so total score is a 9. Let's scroll down, for example, to business development and client acquisition. Obviously, it's going to be a 5 for everything. It's the most important task in terms of revenue. It takes a lot of time, and we do it daily. So also 15. So on and so forth for other ones, for other tasks. For example, this one, brand protection, we don't have a documented workflow, so we cannot really automate it as a result. For the sake of this video, let's choose PPC, listing creation, and business development and client acquisition. And the reason for that, it's because they map out to almost any business. So for example, even if you don't do PPC, you're juggling numbers, most probably, with your business. So that will apply to you. Listing creation and optimization, it's a mix of competitor evaluation, so market research, writing, and then design. So you're doing this in one way or the other in your business as well. And business development and client acquisition, every single business is doing that. Now, the way you're doing it might be different, but every business is doing that. So let's start with listing optimization. So with listing optimization, there are 5 major workflows, 5 major tasks that we do, and then many, many other sub-workflows and tasks for each workflow. By the way, the sheet you see here, I took it from Michael Jordan, not the basketball player, another Michael Jordan that's in the Amazon space. And the first task of listing optimization is competitor evaluation. So we need to find all the top competitors and that are the most similar to our client, and then list all their best features and benefits, top reviews, top negative reviews, and then top phrases. Then we have to do our keyword research based on those competitors and our client's product. Then we have to list all the benefits, features, advantages of our client's product. Then the titles, bullets, and backend search terms for SEO. And then images and A+ content. So first we draft a brief, and then we have the designer design them. So that process used to take 2 full days at a minimum. Now we have an AI agent that does this almost fully on its own. So the best way to show you is to show you an example of how this works in practice. So here I asked the AI agent to optimize this listing. It's for a client of ours. They sell a supplement. So I sent it the link, and then it asked me, do you want me to optimize something specific or run a full optimization? So for the sake of this video, I said full optimization because we can decide to optimize specific images or titles, etc. Then it asked me if we have a spec document or if it should rely on the listing itself. I said rely on the existing listing for all the information you need. So from there, what it did is it's going to use multiple tools. So by the way, we automated everything in Cloud Code. It needs a way to connect to Amazon. It needs a way to connect to different tools that we use, like Helium 10, to be able to check data on specific listings. So in terms of connecting to Amazon, they forbid scraping. So we need to use third-party tools like Rainforest, Bright Data, Scraper API. And these are the APIs that we use to connect to Amazon and be able to scrape the data. And then we use Helium 10 to get things like the revenue per product, keywords, and other things. Now what it did here is it searched for the top keyword for that product, and then it got a list from Helium 10 for all the products ranked by revenue, and then it used Rainforest, Bright Data, and Scraper API to scrape every single listing to find the ones that are the most similar while prioritizing the ones with the highest revenue. And then it ended up choosing these ones. And it gave me the sheet with those products. So, I mean, this is the final version of the sheet, but let me first show you here. So this is our client's product, and then these are all the competitors. So I confirmed the list. I could have asked it, okay, I don't want this product, doesn't work, whatever. The next step, which is the competitor analysis. So it took its time, it analyzed the competitors, and that's what it gave me basically. So best features and benefits, that's for my client's product, and then this is for the competitors. And it highlighted all the things that these competitors have in common. Because at the end of the day, we want to show that our clients have all the best features and benefits, all of the positive things people talk about in the reviews, but none of the negative things, like none of the things that they complain about, while using their own words. That's why we are scraping for the top phrases that they use in the reviews. After that, I said it's good. and it moved to the keyword research phase. So it gave me the list of keywords, but I also asked it to highlight all the keywords that contain the word hangover because we're not allowed to use them in the listing. So that's exactly what it did. But we can use them in PPC, so we can advertise based on those keywords. After that, I asked it something that we don't always do, but just to show you something else. For example, I asked it to run a Cerebro keyword research based on our client's product, and so it gave me this sheet. For this one here, we prioritize keywords above 500. Search volume here, we keep it open. After that, it moved to the next stage, which is the features and benefits. So as you can see here, it filled them all. And after this, it moved to the final listing framework. So it gave me many title variations, bullet variations, and backend search terms. And then we moved to the image planner. So here it's basically writing the prompts. For example, create a modern product infographic on flats, so whatever. These are the prompts that we're gonna basically feed to a model like Nano Banana or ChatGPT Image 2 so that they can design the product or give them to a designer. So as you can see here, it also added the required photos because sometimes you need, for example, to add a supplement bottle or some UGC images you have from the client, and then example images or reference images. So once I confirm, it's gonna send them to a ChatGPT Image 2 through a platform called key.ai. Basically, this is like an API that connects to all the image generation tools, even video generation tools. These days, I prefer ChatGPT Image 2. I used to use Nano Banana before. They're very similar in terms of results. Once it did this, it returned the images, as you can see here. Now, in terms of image generation, I would say it's 80 to 90% there. It also depends on the brand and the example of images that we feed it. So we sometimes still need a designer, unless like we're designing many listings and we don't have time for a designer and the client doesn't have the budget, then we just feed it through the AI. But if we need to have like excellent listings, we still need a designer in the loop to adjust a couple of things usually. So these are the images. And by the way, as you can see, it's like chatting with a human in Slack. So I wanted to make it as simple as possible for my team and as simple as chatting with another human. So even if they don't have any technical skills, they need to be able to use this pretty much right away. And as you can see, there's always a human in the loop. So I didn't want the AI to just do everything on its own, because what if it chose the wrong competitors, or what if it added the wrong benefits or features? And then everything after that is going to be wrong. So there's always a human checking at every point in the process. So implementing this agent took us from spending 2 days to do this whole process to now around an hour. By the way, if you're getting any value from this video so far, I would highly appreciate if you can like and subscribe. That would tell me that you're enjoying those videos and you want me to do more of them. Next task is PPC. Let me first give you a quick 60-second crash course on how PPC works, then I'll go into the automation. PPC stands for pay-per-click, and these are the ads that you see on Amazon when, let's say, you search for something and the first result says sponsored. That's PPC. The way it works, sellers pick the search term that they want to show up for. Let's say, for example, stainless steel cup, and they set the maximum they're willing to pay when a shopper clicks. Every time someone searches for stainless steel cup, Amazon will run a split-second auction between everyone bidding on that term. And if you win the auction, you get the top spot, and you only pay when someone actually clicks. That's the pay-per-click part. If you advertise on Google, it's pretty much the same thing. Now, the issue with this is a client usually has hundreds or thousands of keywords, each with its own bid, and the right bid changes constantly based on competition and performance. If we bid too high, we burn cash on clicks that don't convert, and if we bid too low, we're pretty much invisible. So managing PPC is an endless loop of checking data and nudging bids up and down. And if we want to manage PPC perfectly, we need to look at 10 to 50 data points before changing one bid. So it's impossible to do manually, especially when we have hundreds or thousands of keywords per client to manage. So what we used to do before is we used to do bulk changes and only manage the top keywords manually. But even then, we were still spending 3 hours per client per day on average. And it used to be a huge time suck. So let me first show you an example so you can see how this works in practice. So here I have a campaign open for a client. So here you can see like the campaign name, the performance of the campaign over the last 7 days. And here you can see the keywords, you can see the bids. I mean, you can see many other things as well, but let's just focus on the important things. You can see the cost for each keyword, the cost per click, sales, and ACoS or ROAS. So if we look, for example, at these two, they have a bad performance. This one has a ROAS of only 1.43, and this one spent $27 with no sales in the last 7 days. These two are really good, 3 and 7 sales with a 9 and 6 ROAS. Now, when you see this, you might say, okay, actually, we need to reduce those bids. They have a bad performance. That's actually the wrong conclusion because you haven't seen anything first. So first, we need to check other data points like history. So for example, we need to go into history and see when was the last time we made a change. July 6th for this one, July 8th for these two. And we need to see what was the performance before then, before making those changes, after making those changes. So I'm not going to go over the whole thing. It's going to be like a PPC course, but just to show you an example, if we go for 23 days before the last 7 days, those actually had a really good performance. So it would be premature to just change bids directly. We also need to check what products are you advertising for these bids. Okay, so we're advertising these products. This is the price point. So the reason why this is important is, do we want to allow only $10 to be spent before changing the bid, or do we want to allow $100? Because the higher the price point, the more we want to allow the campaign to spend before changing the bid. So this is just a sample of the things we need to check before we even change a bid. We need sometimes to see, okay, did we go from FBA to FBN? Did we make any changes to the listing? So when you add all of these, you end up looking at 10 to 50 data points before even changing one bid. And you can see that anyone doing this daily would have decision fatigue in the first hour. So we used to have ways around this, as I explained, but now we have a much better way, which is we taught the AI exactly how we used to do it. So we fed it, basically we used Cloud Code for this. We fed it all our SOPs step by step, and we went back and forth with it many, many times on each different scenario type. So it knows, okay, if we have this, we do this. If we have that, we do that. And so it took a lot of back and forth, and it's still not 100% accurate, but it's, I would say, around 95% accurate. There are still some edge cases where it's not completely getting it right, but it's very close to getting it right. And let me show it to you in practice how it works. So AI agent has access to Amazon, but as a read only. We still don't allow it to make changes in Amazon because it's not fully accurate yet. So what it does now is it goes, it analyzes everything. So for example, here we said, analyze the PPC campaigns for this client and tell me what you find. Just high-level observations for now. Don't detail your answer too much. And so it came back with an overall analysis of what's happening. So the spend, the sales from the ads, the ACOS, CPC, conversion rate, what's working, what's dragging, structure note. So then I asked it, based on your analysis, what should we continue? Should we continue in scaling mode or go into optimization mode or in plateau mode, and why? So again, it reviewed the numbers. So stay in scaling mode, but basically trim some targets, some bids. Are you seeing any patterns? It gave me the patterns it's seeing. Anything out of the ordinary that we need to check manually ourselves? Same thing, it went over it, it found a couple things. And then, so again, because it cannot make changes on purpose in Amazon, we asked it to download a bulk sheet, which is a sheet that has all the campaigns data, and we can make changes to that sheet directly. Then it will send the sheet back to us, and then we will review the sheet, and then we will upload it to Amazon. So that's how we have a human in the loop. Instead of the agent doing changes autonomously and making mistakes, we have the PPC manager on the team review the changes and then approving them. So here you can see it downloaded the sheet, it reviewed it, it made the changes, and let's download the sheet. So this is a bulk sheet. These are the portfolios. The tab we want to look at is this one, this example, sponsored product campaigns. So let's filter for the changes it made because this has all the data, not just the changes. So we have to filter for updates. So here you can see, basically it scaled some good targets, some good bids, and it reduced some of the bids that were bleeding money, as you saw. So for example, these, it scaled them like 5.4 ROAS, 3.4, these are good. This one is bleeding like $111 in spend, 89 in sales. This one has $85 in spend, $0 in sales, so it optimized these. This one, for example, is really good, 800 ROAS. And so you can see here the bids. And so we can double check those with what's in the campaigns at the moment. And you can see, okay, like, was this the right reduction, the right increase? And then we're just gonna approve them. So that's basically how it works. Again, as simple as chatting with someone in Slack, and that agent has all our SOPs and knows everything. So that took each rep on my team from spending 3 hours per client per day to now around 30 minutes. Basically, they just have this chat with the agent and then they review the output and then they upload the sheet. That's basically it. So now, instead of only being able to handle 3 clients per rep, that rep is able to handle 9 to 10 clients every day as a result, because now they're only spending 30 minutes per client. So now let's go to the third task, which is outbound sales. And let me explain to you how we used to generate clients and how we're doing it now. So we do it mainly through cold email, and it has many steps. The first step is we need to get leads. So these are brands that sell on Amazon and they have specific criteria, like they are in a specific category, they have a certain revenue, and so on and so forth. So we used to have a vendor that used to get us those leads. They're fully enriched, they're really good. The only thing we had to do, which was taking a lot of time, was doing the personalization for each lead. And so we used to have a VA that used to go over every single lead, and then it used to write specific personalization lines that we used to add to the cold email campaigns. That process used to take at least 100 hours a month, and she was still using AI. The issue with this is she was doing lots of copy pasting and lots of reviewing, and that's basically where the 100 hours were being spent. Now it's all done on autopilot. So again, we taught Cloud Code exactly how we used to do this. That was actually one of the simplest things we did compared to the other workflows we ran. Now Cloud Code is personalizing everything. And not just that, we stopped using the vendor for generating leads. We taught Cloud how to generate those leads. So let me show you an example of how this works in practice. So I asked, I want to generate 100 leads. They need to be supplement brands that generate 1 to 5 million a year. It said, sure, any specific supplement, or should we keep it general? I said general. It said on it, I'll pull 200 instead of 100. So we have a buffer for the brands we lose at the email stage, because for some of them, we won't find any email or a decision maker for them. So it sourced the 200. It gave me this list. I'll show you this list at the end once it is filled with everything. So it asked me if we're good to go to the decision makers and the email stage or step. I said go. Great. Okay, so here, out of the 200, it found 174 decision makers and emails. Out of the 174, it checked them with Million Verifier to check if they're good emails or not. So 137 had good emails, 21 had casual emails, and 16 invalid emails. So we only want to email the 137 good emails. It asked me for the personalization step. I said yes. So should I go with a standard personalization or anything else? I said standard. It said on it, it personalized everything the way I want. And then I said, great, you can now load them into the campaign, and then it loaded them. So let me show you how this looks like. So as you can see, this is the sheet. So seller ID, seller name, estimated revenue, employee range, the link of their seller central, of their store, the link of their website, first name, last name, email, status. And then you can see here the product name. So basically the way we call the email is, hey name, I came across your protein powder on Amazon, and I noticed, which is under the issue, that your best seller runs a standard A+ instead of a premium A+, and that alone is usually worth a conversion bump. That's basically the personalization step. And then after that, you have the offer at the end. So it did all of this, as you can see. So now instead of spending over 100 hours per month on personalizing these leads, the AI is doing this all on autopilot, and we just have to review it in 10 minutes at the end to make sure that everything looks good. And then I created another agent so I can review the performance of my campaigns and always have visibility on all my numbers, because as you know, one of the most important things in business is speed. And so creating that agent allowed me to, in a split second, understand exactly what's happening in my campaigns, what's the bottleneck, and what I need to improve. Before that, I used to have to download multiple spreadsheets and then create some automations manually so that I can see the numbers. Now, I just have to chat with an agent. So let's go to the cold email agent. So I asked it to basically, how is this campaign performing? And then it pulled the numbers. So we contacted 370 leads so far in this campaign, 37 replied, but that's not the full story because 37 includes auto replies, like if someone is out of the office or on vacation. Out of those, only 16 were human replies, which is a 4.3% reply rate on total leads. That's a good reply rate. And 5 of them were positive, so 31 positive reply rates on all the replies, on all the human replies, which is also great. So I asked it which variant performed the best. So we have different copies in the campaign. So it said variant C, and it gave me the stats. So now I know, it's too early to tell if variant C is the best if we're just looking at 370 leads. I want to usually email 1,000 before I decide on a variant. And then I asked it, how's the warm-up going with my inboxes? Because we always warm up the inboxes so that they don't end up going into spam. And so far their health score is at worst 94%, so I know we're good. So that's just a sample of what I do with my cold email agent. That allows me to always have full visibility on all my numbers and analyze my data. All right, so now that I showed you how I automated these 3 tasks, let's go to the last part, which is extremely important, and it's rolling those automations with your employees, with your team. So the reason that's extremely important is because you can have the best AI agents and the best automations, but if no one is using them, then you've wasted all this effort for nothing. So the reason why some of your employees might end up sabotaging the whole project is because when they hear you saying that I want to automate your work, they're gonna translate this in their head that I want to replace you with AI. And so they're gonna either not use the tools or exaggerate some of the mistakes that the AI is doing. And so you need to get ahead of this. So the way I framed this from the beginning is I said, I want you to do more of the work that you enjoy and less of the work that you don't enjoy. So as you saw earlier, I automated a lot of the manual, repetitive tasks, a lot of the tasks that used to cause decision fatigue for employees. And so that has all been automated, or at least most of it has been automated. So the way I framed it with them is, what if you can spend your entire day doing the work that you like doing and almost none of the work that you don't like doing? And that's exactly what I want to make happen when I'm rolling out these AI agents. So that's the first thing, is you want to reassure your team. Now, the next thing, after I tell them, hey, like we're gonna be automating these tasks, you wanna build with the doers in your company. So as I mentioned earlier, if you remember in the video, that when you are automating a task, you need to feed it the workflows that you have documented so that it knows exactly how you're doing a task. And so if we're talking practicality here, in practice, almost no business has all their workflows documented. The way that it usually works is you have a couple employees that know everything, and either they have a couple things documented on their own machines or do it from memory. And so to be able to do this practically is you want to build the AI with those employees. And so you ask them to record their screen, explaining what they're doing as they're doing it. And so that's how we did it here. So it was building with those people in my team, and we were getting their feedback at every step in the process. It's not that, oh, we're gonna automate PPC and then boom, this is PPC automated. No, we're gonna automate PPC. Let's start with, in scaling phase, when we are increasing bids for XYZ scenario, let's start with that. Show me exactly how you're doing it. Okay, now the AI is doing it. I want you to review its work and compare it to what you would have done. Keep giving it feedback until it's 90% of the way there. And I was involved at every step in the process myself as well. And so we kept on doing this until each AI agent was, or each sub workflow was being done at least at 90% accuracy or more. And this goes into my next point. We were doing this one workflow at a time. We didn't like just automate 10 AI, 10 tests, and then just give it to the team. It was one agent at a time, while having my team members that were actually doing the work in the trenches, giving feedback to the AI and teaching the AI what it needs to do. And when I say teaching the AI, they don't need to have the technical skills to do it themselves. What they need to show me or give me is the things that they are doing in the business. And then I take those, I teach, I feed them to the AI. Now, even while doing it this way, and even knowing that AI is, saving hours per task, you're gonna still get a dip. So we got a dip around the first 2 weeks, because people are still getting used to it. Like they're still gonna have to review, give their feedback, ask me questions. So don't expect to magically go from 3 hours a day to 30 minutes a day. Automating the task from 2 days to like suddenly an hour is gonna be gradual. It took around 2 weeks for the dust to settle and for things to work properly. So even after we rolled it out, the feedback loop is still open. So we have a dedicated Slack channel where they give me feedback daily if they have any, and they give feedback during the weekly meeting, because it's always an ongoing project. It's like when you hire a junior employee, you don't just hire them once, train them once, and be like, okay, that's it, you're doing the work. There's always a feedback loop. You have a monthly performance review. Same thing here. So we're always improving the AI. If it's doing mistakes that we need to correct, we're gonna correct them. So the feedback loop never stops. So that's very important. And then step by step, we started redeploying those hours. So when we started seeing, okay, that team member is now spending, let's say, an hour on PPC instead of 3 hours. Now, okay, you can handle another client and then another client. So we step by step started redeploying that excess capacity so that they can handle more clients. Now, one important thing I want to talk about, which is the AI Trifecta. That's how I wanted to coin it, which is any AI project will fail if it doesn't satisfy the need of the 3 parties in a business. So what are these 3 parties? The business itself, the team members, and the clients. So if that AI project doesn't satisfy the needs of all 3, then it's gonna fail. Let me give you an example. If it only satisfies the needs of the business and the team members, but it's impacting the results you get for clients or the work for clients, then it's going to fail because these clients are going to leave. If it's only satisfying the needs of the business and the client, but it's, let's say, giving more work for the employees or it's making their work even harder, then the employees are going to leave or they're going to complain, and then productivity will diminish, and then it's going to eventually impact the work we do for clients. And you can see where I'm going with this. If it's only satisfying the client's needs and the employees' needs, and it's not satisfying the business, then it's more work for pretty much nothing. Now, what if it only feeds the needs of the team members and the clients? Usually it's going to end up feeding the needs of the business, because if clients are happy, employees are happy, then employees are doing better, clients are staying longer, so the needs of the business are also fulfilled. So as long as the needs of those three parties are being fulfilled, your AI project is going to work. Usually when it doesn't work is one of those three or more don't have their needs fulfilled. So 3 takeaways I want to leave you with. Documentation is the bottleneck, not the AI. If you can't hand a task to a new hire with an SOP, then you cannot hand it to an AI. So you want to document first and then you build the AI agent. 2, keep a human approval gate until the agent earns autonomy. If the agent isn't doing the task at 90% accuracy or more, keep a human involved until the agent starts doing the task at least 90% accuracy or more. And 3, put your agent where your team already works. If you work in Slack, put those agents in Slack. If you work in Microsoft Teams, put them in Microsoft Teams. If you work on WhatsApp, put them in WhatsApp. Basically, don't add an additional tools that your team needs to use. Try to integrate those agents into the existing tools that your team already uses. If you got any value from this video, I would highly appreciate if you can like, subscribe, and comment one takeaway that you got from it. It means the world to me. This is a new channel I'm starting, so any support would be appreciated. Also, if you want to connect with me on my socials, I'm leaving them down below in the description.